Hey crafty friends, the October journal is underway and today I'm giving you the layout of all the pages so that you can follow the storyline. So if that's something you're interested in, then let's get making.
In a fun junk journal dream, DJ's crafting grungy scenes. Hither and yon, where friends all meet. Paper glue and vintage treats.
Okay, so let's get started. I've cut and trimmed my pages. I had that white line around it, so I had to get that off. And then I folded them into signatures, and I have 3 signatures in mine. All of mine are on Nina index weight cardstock. It's in my Amazon shop. You can just click the link in the description box. It'll take you over there. And if you want to get the same paper, but any index weight cardstock, you can also do yours on a copy paper if that's what you have. Don't get caught up on that. I just like the index weight cardstock because I feel like it's a little sturdier and it holds up better, but it does add bulk because it's cardstock weight. So that's what I have. So I'm going to go signature by signature. I have 3 of them here, and I'll tell you the pages that I have inside. And these are if you printed each of the pages that had the decorative items along with putting a blank page on the back. Okay. Whether that blank page was one of the neutral pages or it's just white on the back, whatever you chose. But this is the order I'm going in. Okay, so when I cut my pages, the very first page in my signature is this page that has this little cottage on the right, and it is printed on the other side with a blank page. So that is the bottom of my signature, and I say bottom as if we're making a pile. The next one is just a blank page. The next one is also a blank page. This one is blank on one side, and then it's got this tree house with the crystal on top and the pink tree limbs here. Okay, but it's flipped over so that this is over here. Then my next page is this one with the path on it, and the path is down. So it looks like this when it's this way, but we're going to turn it around this way. Okay, so that's my next page. Then my next page is this one with a little cottage with the heart-shaped window, which is in bloom. And then the next page is this one with the bridge on the right. Okay, the other side is just blank. So again, one side of these pages had the images, and then the other side was printed blank. That's what I did. And then this last center page here, or the top, is just blank on both sides. Okay, so that's the first signature. Clip that so it doesn't go all over the place. The next one, which is my middle signature, the very first or bottom page is a blank. And you have a lot of different blanks, so it doesn't matter which one, just pick one. The next page is this page with the meadow and the lavender, but it's flipped this way. The next page is this one with the little rainbow through the forest. That's a rainbow, if you didn't know. It's just, we can only see a few colors. And it's blank on the other side. And so that is going this way. And then this is just a blank page. The next page is just a blank page. So that's 2 blank pages. Then we have this cottage, again with a heart-shaped window on the doorway, but this one is a little different. It's a little bigger, and it has a thatched roof. And then the other side is blank. So this cottage is on the left, so that's that page. And then we have this page, which is this sort of castle with the gems coming up this way with the blue gems on top, crystals. Oops. But it's flipped over so that this is over here. The next page is this sunburst. It's blank on this side, and on this side, this page is up, and then this center is blank. So that's signature 2. And when we go through the story, this will all make sense. Trust me. If you keep them in this order, this is best. Go back and watch the video a couple of times if you have to, if you want to keep them in order. Otherwise, you can kind of jump around in your journal. The premise of the story is a journey through this story. So I'm keeping them in a progression of how the story plays out. And it's just a brief story. We're not going to have, chapters of content. It is not going to be anything like that. It's going to be very basic, and you'll get a bonus soon with some components for the journal as well. Those are coming up, so keep an eye out. All right, our third signature here, starting at the bottom, we have a blank page. Next, we have this domed kind of structure with lotus flowers around it. And again, this is blank on the other side. The next page is blank on both sides. The next page is blank on both sides. The next page has this big crystal castle. The next page is blank on both sides. And then the center page has this little archway with butterflies around it, but it's flipped upside down like that. Now, if this goes, here, and this is in the center, that's fine. It's just that certain pages have to come before other pages, and that's why I've done that in this order. So again, I printed all my half-fold pages, and then I put them through the printer again. I have to flip mine. Some of you can print on the other side. I can't. But if you, I flipped mine over, and then on side 2, I just printed all the neutral pages. And I did like 5 of one, 5 of another, maybe 7 of another. I forget how the numbers were panned out. But anyway, so that's how we got to these signatures. So those are my 3 signatures. Again, you can go back, rewind the video, and see how that's laid out. So that's that. And now I'm going to put together my cover. I'm going to do a bit of a hard cover. I mean, this is soft. It's chipboard. I don't know what mill this is. I'm going to guess it's like a 3 mil. Yeah, I don't have my little calibrator, but that's what that is. And then I had some strips that were like this size, a little longer. So I just went with the width that they were, which was just under 5 inches. And it pretty much, if we put it behind here, you can kind of see. I'll probably have a little more on this side, but that's okay. I can always trim it if I want to. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I wonder if I should trim it. I'm going to leave it for now. We'll just leave it for now. I can always trim it later. But anyway, they were almost 5, and then I did 5 3/4 this way to cover the length. So I have those 2, so 5, almost 5, just under 5. Let me see what the actual number is for you guys. I just went with what I had in my scraps, so it's 4 13/16, so almost a little over 4 3/4 by 5.5. 5 3/4, sorry, by 5 3/4, and then this was 2 by 3/4, by 5 3/4. Okay, as my spine. I tried to go 1 3/4, but I didn't give myself any room to expand, so I went with 2 to be safe. I can always add a folio or something in here if I want to. And then I was looking through my fabric, and I found this I think I'm going to use. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but it's like a very pale lavender. almost like a pinkish lavender. I think it was an old bed sheet, and I don't know if it was one that I used here or that I thrifted because somebody gifted it to me. But these make great covers, so that's what I'm going to use. I thought it was a nice color to kind of go with this theme. And so we're going to make our cover and attach our signatures. I am going to sew my signatures in, but you don't have to. You can certainly you can put a piece of elastic. So what you do is, if you've never done this before, and I have some videos in past months, and actually if you go back and look at my Big Book of Junk Journal Ideas Volume 1, and there's a whole playlist, Big Book of Junk Journal Ideas. It's the very first video all the way at the bottom of the playlist. I put together an elastic, an elastic binding. So you can go back and look for that. So basically what you do is you just figure out where your journal is going to sit, and then you punch a hole just above and below it. I would make my size a little higher for this, just so it wasn't so close to the edge when I poked my hole. And the reason I like to go just a little higher is because if you put your hole kind of down below here, then whatever you use to bind it in, elastic, string, yarn, whatever, tends to pull on this edge a little more. But if you put your hole, say like up here, then it doesn't seem to do that as much. And so, yeah, that's what I like to do. So I punch a hole there, and then I just feed a piece of elastic or string through it and slide these pages under it. So you don't have to sew if you don't want to, but I'm going to sew mine in. But first I'm going to cover this, and I'm just going to use some of my Fabri-Tac. And for attaching it to I don't want to come in here and kind of put glue all over this, because I don't know how well it's going to show or not show through the fabric. This is kind of thin. It's like a cotton sheet. It looks like pearlized cotton, but still, I think it might show through. So I'm just going to put a little around the sides and put it down. And then when I pull these over, that's when I'll kind of make sure that it grips. So let's get started and stop yibba-yabbing. How's everyone? I hope you're doing good today. Thanks for playing. I thought this would be a fun one to kind of play around with. We're not going to get into the storyline today, except to say that it is a storyline about a journey to light, which is the name of... hold on, I need something to get this off my fingers. Yeah, it's a journey to light. It's a fun little ditty. It'll be good. It's a story of healing and encouragement. I think we can all use that. What do you say? Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. All right, so just a very light, just so I don't want it shifting around, really. That's really all I want to do. Is just stop it from shifting. You know? Yeah, I think we'll be safe. I can always put some trim if it becomes an issue. So this next piece I'm going to butt up and leave just like a little gap in there. It's probably like less than a 16th of an inch. And I'm not sewing my signatures into this directly. I am actually going to sew them into a piece of paper that I'll attach to this. So everybody that's yelling at me saying, wait, that's all. That's what I'm doing. Okay. And then this last one It's a very light bead, guys. It's, I don't know how it's showing up on camera, but it's almost barely not there. It's just tacky. Kind of like me sometimes. Tacky and uncouth. All right. That's that. Simple, right? We can all do that. And then I'm going to cut around it. I think my fabric scissors are upstairs. Yeah. What can I use? All right, I'll use these because they're sharp. Actually, I'm going to try it with these because otherwise those are going to take forever. Oh, this is beautiful. So I'm leaving, I don't know, what is that, an inch? I don't think I even need that much, but it's not going to hurt. Like so. And then I'm just going to miter the corners, not quite down to the corner. We want to go just a little above it. You don't have to go a lot, but you don't want it right up against it because we want to be able to kind of fold this in and fold that over so that we can cover up that corner. And if you go right down to the corner, it's just going to poke through. So they're not fabric scissors, and so my lines are not perfectly straight, but they don't have to be because nobody's going to see them anyway. And now we can kind of fold in. I think it did pretty good. Now we can kind of fold this in and get everything where it needs to be. All right, and I am going to make sure I get some glue up there in the corners. I'm going to get out this hand. Oh my goodness, stand up. Stand up! And then this will help me not get my fingers all full of glue. If you have a glue, you know, one of those glue spreaders, you can use that. This has some give back to me, meaning it has some flexibility, but it's very sturdy. And if I hold it down here, it becomes even sturdier. So I can kind of do that. And then over here, and then I'll do the long sides. But I want to make sure I get those corners because I want to make sure that my fabric really sticks to those corners. Those corners will be visible unless you put a corner protector on them. So I just want to make sure that they're covered well. Okay. Now when we're doing, when we go to pull this piece in, when I get to that corner, I kind of want to pull it down a little. What I want to do is fold it in so that when I fold that over, that is just kind of mitered nicely there. It's not going to be perfect. And honestly, guys, if I had to do something like that, it would drive me nuts. So that's not my game. If you want to sit there and kind of take your time more with it and you know, get it perfect, that's absolutely fine. And you go ahead and do that. That is definitely not my game though. Yeah. So anyway. And I start in the center just so I pretty much have everything even. And when I get over to here, just want to kind of pay attention to push that side in when I pull this side over. I'm going to use this edge because that's got glue all over it now. Just to make sure that it miters nicely. Okay, same thing over here. Just make sure that that edge is pushed in. and that this is pulled over nicely. And I'm going to put paper over this, so, you know, this little bit of glue that we're seeing, we won't see most of it. If you, like it's up to the edge in some spots, it's fine. Really, nobody notices. Nobody notices many things. It's an interesting observation. Test it. Test it. Like, do something small and see if anybody notices that the change took place. Hey, we all know this. Sometimes we get a haircut and nobody notices, or we change the color of our hair and nobody notices, or we got a new dress, or we got a new pair of sneakers and nobody asks us if we can run fast in them. So, things like that. All right. Now, I'm just going to press this in. Forgot to start in the center. There we go. And you can pull it tight as you go, and that'll firm up your fabric on the other side. We're just tucking that raw edge in, really. Not well, obviously. But you see what I mean. Just want to get it tucked in there. All right, it's good enough. It's good enough. Sometimes you just have to use the finger tools. That's it. It's the only thing that works. You can kind of come in here and push those through. And there is our cover. Nice. Okay, and so now I'm going to pick my paper for the inside. And I think I'm going to use the lotus flowers, just their symbolism. I don't know if I'm going to get 2 pieces. Yeah, I will, but I'm going to need something for the center. So I'll go with this one. So let me get the white off of the edges. Actually, I can do them at the same time. Okay, and then I just need to see what I need for what. So, let's see where this gets me. All right, so I'm going to make mine 5.5 tall by however wide I need. So for the centerpiece, I'm going to go 3.5. So 5.5 by 3.5. And again, that's because I'm working with a 2-inch spine here. So the 5.5 is how tall, and the 3.5 is how wide. And then what'll happen is these pieces will go under the pieces that go here after I sew my signatures in. Sometimes it's good to get this fold in place. Not hard, but just so I kind of know where it's going to lay, because I'm going to have to measure for my signatures, and I need to kind of know where that's going. It just gives me a range. And again, I'm not going to do like a hard fold here because I might have to adjust it after I glue it in. What are you doing? What are you doing, paper? I can see that my printer is out of alignment. Can you guys see those tiny little lines? It's hard to see sometimes, but I have to align it. Every time I turn it off, for some reason it does that. All right, and then these are going to be 5.5. And then we'll figure out their width. 5.5 by 4.5. 4.5 and 4.5. Yeah, that's plenty of room. Okay, and those will be our side pieces. Make sense? It will. It will make sense. So this will go here after I sew in my signatures, and then this will overlap on each side. Like so. And that'll be the inside. So let's sew some signatures. Let's see, how big is this? 2. Perfect, which makes sense. And okay, this is my first signature, correct? Yes. All right. So I'm going to put the center one at 1 inch because that makes sense to me. And then, so let me measure that out first. Pencil. Oh, there it is. A mechanical pencil. Sorry for any glare with my ruler. It is what it is. And then I guess I'll just do them on the 1/2 inch over here. Why not? Just an easy measurement. Don't need to make it complex, right? Why make it complex? Doesn't have to. And if you guys have done this before, you don't have to watch this part. It's completely up to you, but I do need a piece. Let me get a piece of scrap because I'm going to need a piece to kind of figure out my holes. So let me cut a piece that is 5.5. Actually, this might work if this is 5.5. Yeah. Okay. So then I don't have to do anything. I'm just going to fold this in half because I need a template for my holes. It doesn't have to be perfectly in half. I just need a seam down the middle. It's got to rest between my pages, so as perfect as can be. And then I'm just going to mark, I'm going to flip it over to the other side. It'll be easier for me to work with without the design. I'm just going to mark a top so I know where my top is. And then I'm also going to mark a top here so I don't lose track of that. And let's draw some lines. And I'm going real light because I will erase them, though you probably won't see them. I'm not going for perfection, guys. This is supposed to be a relaxing craft time. Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff, to quote a book. All right, so that's where my signatures are going. And now I just need the placement for punching my holes. Where is my top? This is why we mark things. Okay. So I'll do one generally in the middle, right? It's always good practice. And then I'll come down a little further than I think I need because I always end up putting those holes a little too far to the edge. And then it doesn't work out inside my journals. All right, so those are my marks. I didn't measure, but you can measure. You can measure halfway point and then in this way and in that way. And then I'm just going to line this up to my lines that I just made in my signature, in my back here, and mark. on each of these lines, and that's where I'm gonna poke it with my pokey tool. Which is why it's important to know where the top is, because if you're not measuring, your holes could be off slightly, and then you'll run into trouble later when you're sewing in your pages. So make sure you know where your top is at all times. That's just some general advice for life. Just know that. There we go. So now I'll get a little booklet out here. My pokey tool. And just going to poke those holes. Then we can erase our lines. Now, if I wasn't doing this backer and I was just kind of poking through the back of my spine, then I might not need the template. I might just kind of do everything at once, my journal pages and my backer. But because I'm going to be attaching this, I just want to get everything poked ahead of time. Okay, there we go. So now I'll keep the T because I want to continue to know where my top of my spine is. But I'm erasing everything else out. That's on the line. It's a fold mark, silly girl. All right. And now for our signatures, you want to make sure they're upright. Okay, this is my first signature. The upright, we put the T at the top. And see, this is what I mean. Sometimes, you see how my template is just a little higher than this page? And that happened because it's 5.5 and I have to trim my pages. So that's why I say make your holes go down a little further than you think you need, because otherwise you might be caught too close to the edge, which I've done recently. So it's top of mind. All right, so I'm going to center that template in there and get a couple of clips. Those of you that have done this before, you don't have to really watch. I'm going to clip it in and make sure I clip the template as well. And I'm kind of pushing my thumb down into that center as I do this, just to make sure that that template is as close to the spine as I can get it. And then I'm going to give it one last check. Where is that T? Okay, of course I would put it under the clip. Okay, make sure that's still the top. Good. Okay. Sometimes when you're twisting it around, you lose sight. Okay, so for this, if you've never done this before, and I'm only talking to the beginners who may have never done this before, I like to kind of grip it and hold it here when I'm poking through. So I'll take my pokey tool and I'll kind of rest it on the spot that it needs to go in. And then I'll hold this together and punch it through. And what that does is it just lines up your spine more evenly when you have your page closed. Closed, as close as you can. It kind of keeps it aligned. Sometimes when it's open, you can poke through and you'll come out over here. So anyway, that's what I do. Poke that. And then we'll come up here. I'll rest my tool and I'll poke that. Watch your hands, kids. We don't want to take out a finger. We don't want to be bleeding on our journal. So go slow. All right, and then to remove my template, I'm going to hold this again, grip it tight. I'm just going to move my clips up so I can get my template out of there, but my pages, I don't want them to shift. So there we go. That's our first set. Now, my center of my page is not exactly center, but my holes technically are. They're right in the center of that dip. So, one. Moving on. Okay, so this is my second signature, yes. Make sure my pages are lined up. This is my top. This is my top. And I'm just going to repeat the process with more clips. All right, so I'm going to do these other two signatures and I will be right back and then we'll sew them in. Okay, I'm back. I don't need this here. I need this. I need to know where my top is. Okay, I'm going to put it on this side too. And actually, I realized I didn't have to erase anything because this is the side I'm using. And I drew on the other side, so whatever. I got a needle. I got some waxed linen here. Or waxed thread. I don't know if it's linen. I know it's waxed. I went with this color because I thought it matched. And it's kind of got a bright light about it. So, I'm going to measure first. So this should be number 1. Where are you? Okay, yeah, I turned it around. Top is on top. Okay, so this is going to be my first signature here. I'm going to double check, make sure everything's going to line up. I didn't make any mistakes, and I'm good. Keeping my clips on, I'm just going to measure, depending on how much of a tail you have, you can do 3 or 4. 3 or 4. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go 4. I can always trim it later. And I'm just going to get 3 of those so I don't have to do it later. I can use this one to measure the rest. Easy peasy. This waxed linen smells so good. It's got like a lemony kind of beeswax smell. I love that smell. Anyway. All right, so now we can sew our signatures in. I'm going to use a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. If you have never done this before, it's really super simple. I think most of you have, but if you haven't, I'll go through it once. And I have a bunch of other videos. You can find videos on YouTube. Wherever you want your tail to end up is where you start. So if I want my tail on the outside, I start on the outside. If I want my tail on the inside, I start on the inside, which is what I'm going to do. I like to do these separate when I'm putting the thread through. So I feed it through. I put a little clip on the end because I have lost thread before. Then you got to start over again. Okay. So I go through the center of that one. Then we're going to go through the center of my first set of holes here. It's just easier for me to do this. I can see it better. If you want to do it a different way, you can. Then I'm going to go up through the top hole. Or you can go through the bottom. It doesn't matter. Both work. Okay, so it's away from my journal. It's fine. I can tighten it up at the end. And then I'm going to go through the top here. And this is just because it's easier for me to see what I'm doing. Which is why I like to go for 4 times the journal rather than 3, because it gives me some extra thread. All right, we're coming all the way down to the bottom. And we're going through here. The bottom, okay. And then I'm just going to pull this through. We're going to go up through the center again. And the one thing you just have to watch is that you don't pierce through your other thread, because then you won't be able to tighten anything. So up through the center here. I'm working with a little thread now because I'm running out. And then through the center here. Okay, and if the journaling spirits are with me, then all of this works. Okay, so there we go. Now I can take that out. I can take my clips off. And I can take this out. And I just want to make sure that one of these tails is under this center piece one way and one going the other way. And then back here, I'm just going to tighten things up. So I'm just going to kind of, I pull it from the bottom and the top. Like this, and then I can pull it through here. So there we go. And then I'm just going to tie 1 knot, 2 knots. Now it gets a little fiddly from this point on. because you got these pages in the way. So it's easier sometimes if you just clip them to keep them out of the way. And then I'm gonna make sure this is my second one. It is going to get my needle and thread, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. And like I said, I guess I got glue on my nail. It gets a little more fiddly, but just take your time. There's no contest here. There's no judges. Nobody's, you're not going to get a fastest journal binder award here. Maybe you give them out in your own craft. All right, so again, I'm just going to go through the center, up through the top, around, down through the bottom, and just circle back through the center. That's it. I'll be back when both are sewn in. All right, we are back, and all of this is sewn in now. This is my top. One last check, just make sure everything is lined up the way I need it to. I was checking as I go, but it's always nice to do a final check before we glue it in. Where are the pieces for here? Okay, we're good. All right, let me pull these all down. And now the next step is to glue this in place. So I'm just going to get some of my Fabrifix, but this is what it looks like. You just got your spine like that, and they're all sewn into it. Boop, boop, boop. And then this is going to get glued down, so you won't see it. So this is a hidden spine binding, meaning you don't see the sewing that you see on the outside of some journals. Okay, get a good amount of glue in here. Make sure you get up to your edges, but not too heavy because it'll just squeeze out all over the place. But you do want to make sure that it is up against that edge. Sometimes it's good if you kind of smooth it out. Okay, and then we'll go over here. This crease we want really good. And then I don't go right up to the edge because as I'm pushing this down, it will squeeze out. So I'm just going to kind of move it around here. Hopefully the camera isn't doing a weird focusy thing. All right, and making sure where my top is in case your fabric is directional. Just double check that, and then we're going to get it in place. And then just fit it to where it needs to be. Got to go up a little. Just want to make sure it's even, that's all. These creases you can always fix later. It's not that important, but now we just want to make sure it's all down. I'm going to take my bone folder and kind of press in between here. This side is really good for this. And see what I mean about, like, if your glue is right up to the edge, it's still going to squirt out here all over your fabric, so you don't want to do that. I've done it. It happens. With the Fabrifix, or if you use like a 3-in-1, it'll usually roll up if you just use your fingers after it dries. You can get a glue eraser if you have one of them. I don't have one of them. I've used cheesecloth to kind of pull up glue. That works really well. All right, and then you just want to make sure your edges are all glued down. Let this glue really well, because if you don't, and you start fiddling with it, as you bend this, it's going to buckle here if it's not glued down well. You may want to test it before it dries and just see if you need some glue in there. If it's buckling at this point, then that's not glued down well. Like here, you can kind of see like there's a little gap there that the glue didn't get down to. So while you still have some wet glue, you can kind of push it down and get it in there. And that's it. And then you want it to dry really well. We can put our other pages on. Just got to see where the top is. Okay. So that I put these right side up. And then when you're putting these down, you just want to make sure you cut them and fit them so that they are on this side of your creases, right? Because you don't want like a tiny little edge going over that crease, and then it's not going to glue down well. It'll lift. So you want it inside of that crease, which is how I cut them. All right, so let me glue these down. My glue's doing weird stuff. I need a new one. When it starts to get to the end, it gets thicker, and then it starts to come out of the tip. It's just, I don't know what it does. It's so weird. I need a new Sugar Bell bottle is what I need. But I haven't gotten one yet. All right, so I'm just putting glue all over this. If your paper is really thin, you might want to use just a regular like PVA glue or your art glitter glue or berry art glue or whatever you have. Elmer's is fine. Just because this might get bumpy. I'm just going to fit that in place. And if I measured correctly, everything should line up here. And I like to pull down rather than push out. It saves me from some glue oozing out. What? Guess I shifted it a little. It's all good. I love this tool. It is my absolute favorite. It's both flexible and stiff. When I need it to be, it's perfect. All right, next one. This one is going to go this way, and then our journal will be assembled, and that'll wrap up our video today. So if you are new here and you haven't yet subscribed, and you think you might want to now, I hope you will. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But most of all, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. If you're struggling with something in particular in this video, let me know. It helps me to improve for the future. Or if you have a general question, don't ask me about what glue I use. I tend to not answer that question anymore, but it's all on my website under my FAQs if you really want to know. But yeah, if you have a question, please drop it there. And then give it a like. Share it out if you have someone who you know might like this video. Maybe somebody looking for a new hobby. I don't know. And thanks for spending some time with me today. In our next video, we'll get into starting to build out our pages and the storyline. But in the meantime, look for your bonus that'll be coming. I'm not sure of the exact day you'll get it, but you'll get it before the next video for sure, which is on next Thursday. And we'll craft along again there. So that is our journal. I feel like I didn't put that down good enough. Our little mini fabric covered journal, which I love, 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 love. I love this color too. And I think if I want, I can put this little cover on there. We have this little journey word. I don't know if I'm doing that yet or if I'm doing something else. But we'll see. We'll see. I did cut out my words. I did some of my fussy cutting and and that, so I'll be all ready for the next video. But for now, here's where we are. We have our 3 signatures. They're in the order we need for the storyline, and we have a cover on it. So if you played along, thanks. I'll see y'all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day or night. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon.